Hello guys and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me Vulcan. Today I have for you game 2 out of 2 games between Maximillion and Funagor in round 3 of the second European tournament. Today we are going to be seeing Odon River, and on the allied side Maximillion is going to be using the 2nd Infantry. On the Axis side Funagor has the 17th SS-Panzergrenadiers. So, after the last game, it's up to Maximillion to bring one back against Funagor, and if you guys did not see the last game, then I would definitely recommend it. It was absolutely spectacular. Funagor managed to use his 6th Airborne to defeat Maximillion's 12th SS Panzer on Carpiquet, and you have to see it to believe it. It was a stellar performance from Funagor. Now he's on the 17th SS. It's a very different division than the 6th Airborne, and we'll have to see if that affects his play at all. In both divisions, for either player, are very different from the divisions they played in the last match. So 2nd Infantry for Maximillion. It does have the M4s in Phase A, which can make a lot of ground if they are used correctly in support of the Ranger infantry that the 2nd has an abundance of. Then there is also the assistance of either artillery or an air force to rely on, and that is one way that I expect Maximillion to try and break through the chokes on this map, because generally on Odon River you have this bottom river bridge. You've got the 2 further up here, and then you've got the 1 at the very top, and those act as sort of natural choke points on this map. You can, of course, probe across the rivers with infantry, but by doing so, you generally leave yourself unsupported. The thing is about the 2nd Infantry is that the M4s, because they are DD variants, they can just ignore the bridges and come across in the mid here, for example, which could definitely catch out Funagor. And if Maximillion pulls off an amphibious play, I would be very impressed. So that's something to possibly look forward to. On the side of Funagor, he does have an abundance of good infantry with the 17th SS. He can defend these salients very well. The Stoss Troop will do a good job of that, and I find the Stoss Troop used well in defense can be extremely cost efficient, because say for example you put a Stoss Troop in this building, it only engages at the 100 meter range against infantry, and if infantry is getting within 100 meter range of this house, then generally it will be in the river, which therefore will have no cover, and the Stoss Troop will rip them to shreds. The other thing is that they have the Panzerfaust, so if anything tries to come across the river, then you can do a lot of damage and kill that as well. So that's something that I hope to see the Stoss Troop used for. I think a lot of people misuse Stoss Troop. They try and play them very aggressively, and they often end up falling to the hands of enemy machine guns because they get left out in the open and they don't utilize their smokes properly. So that's going to be reliant on Funagor's micro, but after the last game I have a lot of faith in Funagor's ability to play this game, and we'll have to see if he can utilize them properly. So anyway, accompanying a couple of Stoss Troop here, we have the Speer Troop. There is going to be a command infantry, some Panzergrens, another Stoss Troop at the back, and the Stug 3. For the middle of the map, it's going to be 1 unit of Stoss Troop. On the top side, we see a Panzerschreck, Panzergrenadiers, command infantry, an AT gun, which is a Pak 38, the command infantry, another command infantry, Stoss Troop, and a Panzergrenadier. So it looks like those are going to spread out between the 2 bridges on the top side. This lot's just going to go to the bottom side. No amphibious push from Maximillion, but may try and probe some infantry across towards the centre throughout this game. But yeah, no M4s yet either. On the side of Maximillion, it's just going to be the Ranger supports for the top side with the Ranger Assaults and the Ranger Marauders with the Ranger Leader. And then there's also going to be the rifles there as well. These rifles have managed to get into a decent position, but don't want to be engaged by the Panzergrens at max range. That's not ideal. Ranger Leader supporting those though and providing them with command. 107mm mortar was the unit of choice for Maximillion to try and pin down these forces in the town and possibly make some ground. So M1 gun also chosen there, but that's just to cover the two bridges. This tree area is pretty obvious, but a really nice place for the M1 gun to shoot down the main road. On the bottom side, Ranger Assaults, Ranger Supports, Ranger Leader. Ranger Assaults looking for the engagements with these Stoßtrupp or Panzergrenadiers. Seems they have done a little bit of damage already. They did fire their flamethrowers. But Funagor getting super aggressive with this Stug. We're going to have to keep an eye on that. There isn't actually anything here with AT though, so maybe that's a good idea from Funagor, since he's identified that this is a Ranger Assault and a Ranger Support. If there's no Ranger Marauder here, this Stug 3 can use its main gun and machine gun to do a lot of work. And Ranger Leader also being spotted. The command units of the 2nd Infantry don't even have AT either, so Funagor able to get on target there, possibly kill the Ranger Leader. Surprised that's staying alive. But no, it dies finally. Now Ranger Assaults and Ranger Supports left without any command. But on this top side, it seems as though the 107mm mortar is finding some really nice shots. It's managed to pin down the Panzergrenadier. It's also managed to pin and do some damage to the infantry in this town. But no significant ground made just yet. Rifles have crossed the river in the centre. That's giving a +1 to Maximillion. But where do both players go from here? Like on the bottom side, I think Funagor can kill this infantry quite nicely. And I mentioned how any unit in this river would get absolutely destroyed. And there we do see the demonstration of that by the Stoßtrupp. That's now going to allow the Stug 3 to possibly cross the river and continue up towards this town. And that could put Funagor in a pretty good position. But these are Ranger Marauders, so if the Stug 3 gets any more aggressive, it could now be punished. So getting that unit in to make sure there is the potential for a punish is pretty important. Stoßtrupp come across these rifles. The rifle is just going to back off and engage at a longer range, but the smoke does come down for the Stoßtrupp, so nicely done by Funagor. Nebelwerfer going to be utilised on this top side to try and clean up this M1 gun. A shot does land directly on target, but I don't think the M1 gun's technically in the flames, so it probably won't burn out. But having invested into a Nebelwerfer early on, that does also require the investment of supply, and it may leave Funagor light on the ground. It's a trap that often the 17th SS fall for. But speaking of traps, the Ranger Marauders take advantage of Funagor's positioning with that Stug 3 to blow it up. And now there's an M4 on the way with no Stug 3 to counter it, which means this infantry is going to have to back off and get back to cover. So the Stoßtrupp doing a runner here, trying to find the Ranger Assaults. Now they're pinned down by the 81mm mortar. And those will be a quick couple kills there. But ideally some smoke should go down to cover the Stoßtrupp. Now these Stoßtrupp also trying to make ground, have run through their smoke. They've used up their last smoke grenade. Rifles just trying to keep their distance though. I really like the skill of both these players. It seems that both are very attentive, like across the map, and you see these like this infantry micro is just very impressive to watch. The Ranger Leader manages to get rid of an infantry squad from Funagor. Rifles have forced back the Panzergrenadiers on the top side and taking control of that orchard. On the bottom side, M4DD has found the Panzergrenadier. It's going to take those out, removes the command from the Stoßtrupp. Stoßtrupp really can't do too much because they have 150 meter range on the Panzerfaust, so even if they're going to look for a kill onto the M4DD, Maximillion's smart enough to just back those off, and then if the Stoßtrupp try and advance, they're going to get ripped to shreds by the infantry support Maximillion's now brought in. So a very, very good move here from Maximillion, and it seems as though Maximillion's having a good time with this closer range map than Funagor is. The 55% territory here for Maximillion, and there is potentially a lot of ground to be made on this bottom side. The forces that Maximillion were relying on have just been picked apart, especially after that Stug went down, and that's left him in a bit of a difficult position. 107mm mortar has been trying to kill off the Nebelwerfer, but that's not going to be reloaded anytime soon anyway, so it doesn't particularly matter. Of course, Maximillion wouldn't know that, and getting rid of the Nebelwerfers sooner than later is always a good idea, so I'm not really questioning the targeting of his 107mm mortar, but just saying that it wouldn't be or wouldn't have been necessary either way. Panzergrenadiers, they almost managed to take out the Ranger Marauders actually. That could have been a mistake from Maximillion. But here we see the units continue forwards on this bottom side. It looks like Maximillion has identified this gap in the front line. He probably would have noticed it when the front line shot forwards after he deleted that last Stosstroop squad. Now Ju-87 coming in with its bombs. That's going to be targeting the 107mm mortar. Bombs away. Oh, lovely strike. It hits the duck, which ends up killing the 107mm mortar, assisted by the bomb explosion. Fantastic Stuka strike. Now the Panzergrenadiers continuing to open up onto this engagement. And without that 107mm mortar, I think Funagor may be able to stabilise on that top side. But continuing to impress me with his air micro, something that he definitely showed his prowess in the first game with the Typhoon AT. And now these Panzergrens winning these engagements through the orchards. Panzergrens thrive in orchards because they have the MG42s, and due to those being able to fire over the 100 meter range, you generally engage at just over 100 meters, like 150, 170 meters, and therefore Panzergrens always get their machine guns into position to fire. On this bottom side, Panzergrens ripping apart these Ranger assaults. I like how these Panzergrens have not revealed themselves to the tank here, whilst are able to continue the engagement with the rifles and the Ranger assault. But the Ranger assault has been allowed into the forest. Some nice micro there by Maximillion. If he utilised the line of sight tool, then he's like basically bypassed the sight that the Panzergrenadiers had. Just going to let the flamethrower reload there briefly and then re-engage, so he does find the pin onto the Panzergrens. Really smart moves. Stosstroop, they need to smoke themselves off. They do manage to just in time. Ranger assaults go down. Both players really impressing me with their micro. Panzergrens coming up close to an M7DD is not going to end too well. This one trying to run across the open, getting smashed by the 50 cows. Surely this main gun's going to open up soon as well. These Panzergrenadiers reveal themselves to the Ranger supports. I think possibly Funagor's attention is elsewhere. And that is an M7 destroying a couple of significant units of Panzergrenadiers. Pack 38 was purchased to try and ambush the M4, but the M4 winning out in this case. Couldn't quite get the job done, was spotted by the Ranger Marauder, therefore forced to fire. And it just comes down to Maximillion's micro of this Ranger Marauder's keeping that ahead of his vehicle. But here, unfortunate that this Panzerschreck did not get the kill. Can it find a second shot? It's reloading. It does. M4 goes down. Very important kill. But in the meantime, Maximillion brought in a couple of rifles to clean out the Stosstroop. These Stosstroop are getting taken out now by the Recon. And honestly, Funagor's infantry is looking very light on the ground. He doesn't seem to have too much left. Like, Maximillion's infantry has been trading quite a bit better, it seems. And although that is a nice kill onto the M4, I feel like Maximillion will be able to afford himself another one with this 120 points per minute in Phase B. But what can Funagor do? He can bring in maybe a Stug to this bottom side. I think this 232 is actually a really nice choice though, with the 2-star veterancy, because that 20mm autocannon can do a lot of damage to infantry if it's allowed to sit on target. Same deal up here. These 232s, nice cheap way to stabilize the front line, and it's something that Funagor can try and use to his advantage. Panzerschreck though does go down. These Panzergrenadiers have been forced out of their building by the Ranger Assaults. Ranger Assaults are going to be trying to move forwards to get their flamethrower on target. They're going to force the Panzergrenadier out of their building. Do end up going down to the Panzergrenadier at close range. Pak 38 trying to kill off the CGMC, but fails to do so. 232 wasn't quite there in time to provide the command, so that Pak 38 had no veterancy, and that definitely suffered because of it. IG-18 is going to have to back off in the face of the M7DD, and that M7's now coming down to possibly engage the 232. It's going to have to be careful that as it gets closer, it doesn't come into penetration range of the 232, because that could end badly. But this 232, it's fast moving straight towards a Ranger Marauder unit. Ouch. Just as I was praising Funagor for bringing that in, it dies just as quick. And that has left this infantry unsupported once again, whilst Maximillion is bringing in a xylophone and now an M4A1 from the spawn. On this top side, 232 is going to be engaging the M7DD. It looks as though Maximillion was trying to fire position the corner of this tree line so that he pinned the 232 before he engaged it. Which would have been a smart move had it worked, but it did not. Funagor just went straight for the kill, had the penetration range, found the kill. Pak 38 was also opening up as well. This Nebelwerfer, left on 1 health, does just about manage to stay alive. Is going to start Nebelwerfing some of the infantry that Maximillion has got left. But here comes a Ranger Marauder squad. Is this going to be another Ranger Marauder bazooka kill? Because if so, nicely done by Maximillion to micro these Ranger Marauders throughout this game. Fantastic stuff. AU-87 comes in for the bombing strike onto the rifles on the bottom side, but not as effective as his first strike with that JU-87. And I can't help but feel these Ranger Marauders have just done that little bit too much damage, and a really nice surrender there onto some Panzergrenadiers for Maximillion. Now this 81mm mortar, it's engaging this infantry, and by doing so it's kind of revealing its location. I think Maximillion may go for a strike onto this bottom side. If he manages to hit this Opel Blitz munition with the xylophone, he could probably clean up the mortar in 1 strike, which would be really, really nice. But so far, it seems as though Maximillion has dealt with these close-range engagements a lot better than Funagor. I think Funagor utilises Stosstroop quite well very early on, but then they kind of got overextended and caught out, when ideally I think the 17th SS against the 2nd Infantry probably has to remain relatively defensive in the early phases until it can overwhelm the availability of the 2nd Infantry, which is a hard thing to do, but you do have quite a good amount of support units that you can utilise, like those 232s, the IG-18s, you do have Befehlpanzer 4s, and then you've got Stug 4s in the late game that honestly the 2nd Infantry will find hard to deal with. Saying that, the terrain doesn't really help. Like a Stug doesn't really work on a map like this because a Sherman can just come around the corner and hit you at very close range. But 81mm mortar still doing work. That's going to be continuing to pin down this infantry. Surely Maximillion is going to utilise his xylophone at some point. Maybe he was trying to move it up so he could get a shot onto the Nebelwerfer, which does manage to hit this town quite effectively and pin down the infantry there. But the xylophone is going to be possibly firing straight back. JU-87 going to be coming in now. These JU-87s, they have those nasty 37mm cannons. Going to be trying to snipe the M4A1. But there is a reply coming in from Maximillion. P-38 Lightning in the sky. Funagor going to try and retreat from that. But the lightning surely going to find the kill. Job done. AU-87 goes down. And the M4 is untouched. And now the M4 are going to force the close range engagement with the Panzer IV. It's going to aim quicker. It actually fires at the Opel Blitz munition, which kills the reinforcing infantry. The xylophone's going to come in with a little bit of a strike onto the Panzer IV. That allows the M4A1 to stay up and running whilst the Panzer IV falls back. And what an explosive finish. Wow, Funagor surrenders with after 16 minutes and 38 seconds as that xylophone strike was coming through. Crazy stuff. I think these two players being matched up has been one of the most exciting matchups I've watched so far in this tournament. It's a sort of a matchup that I wasn't sure I was going to cast because Maximillion and Funagor aren't really well-known names. But I saw the game and I saw that it was 6th Airborne, and I was like, how does this happen? And that watching the first game between these two was just insane. And then this game, I think Maximillion really pulled out all the stops to make the ground against Funagor. And you can see how close it remained. It wasn't like Funagor wasn't doing well and wasn't making good plays. It's just Maximillion was just that little bit better with his infantry. And that sort of little difference in score really comes down to infantry kills. So we'll probably see that if we jump over to the kills tab. But great job by Maximillion to bring back one game, which leaves these two players 1-1 in this series. So Ranger Assault trading 2 for 1, very nice. Ranger Marauders picking off the Stug 3 was very important. Also picked off the 232 later on. Ranger Supports, again, doing very well. Trading so damn well. Rifles taking out Panzergrenadier IG-18 is nice. Rifles killing off the Stosstroop. Jeep 30 cal took out a Stosstroop as well. These rifles taking out Panzergrenadier Panzergrenadiers. This is the difference. Because if we jump over to the losses, I don't think the Stosstroop and the Panzergrens really traded 2 for 1 very much. The only unit that traded 2 for 1 was this Panzergrenadier that killed the rifle and the Ranger Marauders. And since Panzergrenadiers cost like 30 points, I think, with the 17th SS, killing like one Ranger leader or one Ranger support is not paying itself off. And that's the difference at the end of the day, because Funagor ended up not having that infantry left to hold the ground. And that was something that Maximillion continued to exploit with his more cost-efficient infantry. And yeah, just maybe a couple too many kills from those Ranger Marauders onto the support units like the 232s also didn't help. But either way, a very nice game. I think Funagor was in his right to surrender that one. It wasn't looking great, and the 2nd Infantry was just getting more and more entrenched as the game went on. So there you have it. 1-1 between these two. Fantastic games. Hopefully you guys enjoyed them as much as I did. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.